My name is Gabriela. I am a Brazilian artist. I'm based in London. My studio is facing the River Thames, just by the Thames barrier. And I'm a painter. I make paintings that are usually large in scale and paintings that have a very immersive quality to them, not only for their size, but also for their surface, their tactile quality. And painting, I think, is a way of me dealing with the material world around me. I am an observer of the smallest and also of the biggest of details. I borrow many of my colors, textures, forms from nature, and nature is the foundation of painting anyway. All the materials we use in painting come from nature, so it's a very interesting activity that deals with your body, with your mind, and with something that comes from earth, from nature. So it can be a very profound activity, and I enjoy doing it a lot. And I think I'm also interested on a conceptual level, if you like, in tensions and binaries and where things meet and the in-betweenness of things. So the work floats between being simple and complex, micro and macro, painting and drawing, abstract and figurative, nature and body. So I try to find a balance, and really refers to life in general and living and trying to find a way of doing things, and that's usually in between all this. And I usually refer to my work as visual poetry. It has to be experienced in a more physical and tactile way, and that's why I give a lot of importance to building textured surfaces in my work, because I always think that people, when they approach the work and when they are looking at the work, and it's almost like you want to touch it, you will have a more intuitive reading, and you can bring your imagination, your sense of wonder, your history, your baggage, in order to read the work. So the work tries to almost portray something that you can almost put your finger on. You can always almost recognize it, but it pushes you to imagine other things as well. So depending where you come from, depending of your age, your background, you will read the painting according to that, using that experience, that personal experience. And I don't necessarily explain my work individually, because I think they are all part of a big, wide work. They all bring the same message, I guess. But I do want to talk about my latest work. So all this work was done during 2020, 21, so very recent, and I guess very intimate work, because it was done while in isolation. That meant that I had a lot of time and space to make work that had been on my mind for a while, work that was ambitious in a sense. So I guess that my work has always grew out of the surface in lumps and in the material on top of the surface. And I guess with this work, I started thinking a lot the past year about boundaries and about edges and limits and restrictions, and how could I apply that into painting, physically and metaphorically speaking. So I guess that the paintings, instead of just growing on top of the surface, I started thinking about the space that surrounds the square, the rectangle, and also exploring a space in a painting that is usually marginalized, that you don't actually look at, which are the sides and the edges. So exploring the possibilities of that space that surrounds the work as a also a pictorial sort of possible way of finishing a work. So I call them accessories. So they are not essential to reading the work, and if you look at it without the accessories, you still get the same message, but I think they add a quirky sort of feel to them, and they're humorous, and I think my work touches on all those things, you know. Yeah, so like I said before, I tend to approach my work as a sort of visual poetry, and that is the reason why I asked a very good friend of mine, Sarah Powell, a poet from London, to write a few words about my work, but in a very, you know, on her own perspective of what she could grasp with my work. And I always like to hear what other people have to say about it, and I'm usually surprised by their readings and about their opinions and about what they can see in the work. And it's all about using your imagination and using your sensitive body and mind.